What's up, guys? Welcome to a land investing and cigars video coming to you from beautiful Positano, Italy. Just take that all in. I wish you were here because it's so magical. We got a cigar, got a lot of things on my mind that I want to share with you here today. I promise you, if you watch this whole video, you will leave better. Maybe it's uplifting, maybe you learn something, maybe it gives you some perspective. At least that's the goal. So stick around, enjoy it, spark this thing up. If you guys are new here, we run a business called Land Investing Accelerator. Teach people how to build land investing businesses. If you guys want to learn more about how you can build a six-figure land investing business, go to landinvestor.co/apply. We'll show you on a call our whole strategy, how we flip land, and how you can build a six-figure, seven-figure even business. Hell, we had a guy just yesterday, so that's 10 months into Leah, who's built an $800,000 pipeline in 10 months. So you got a team of, I think, 4 people on his team. It's a pretty cool opportunity. So anyways, let's spark this thing up. Delicious, well earned. I actually just hiked to the very, very, very top of the mountains back way behind there. You can't even see it in the video. Crazy hike, 4-hour hike. So this is well deserved. This is our last night here before we go to Croatia. Tomorrow we've been bopping around all over Europe. Paris for the first time, Italy, which is amazing, and Croatia tomorrow. And yet, during all that time, while I'm so grateful to be here, there's still this little nagging thing in the back of my head that's been really bothering me. And I want to talk about it. And I think it's something that we all go through. I think it's coming to terms with the fact that our life moves in seasons. Like, it just seems like everything ultimately in the world moves in seasons. It just kind of seems like it's a law of the universe. And when you're a high performer, or you're trying to achieve something or change your life, you're usually used to kind of being in one gear. It's kind of like your go gear. It's like go, always push, momentum, progress. And I kind of live in that gear. And I've been, for the last 2 months, I moved to Bali. We're totally unsettled. Then we flew back to America, had my friend's wedding. Then we flew to Europe. Now I'm going back to America. I'm going to Seattle. I'm going to be up there for a couple weeks. Then I go to Las Vegas. I have our big mastermind event in Las Vegas. Then I go camping out in Zion. Then I fly back to Bali. So in all that time, where the heck is there enough space to actually make forward progress in your life? And frankly, there isn't. Like, you can make forward progress elsewhere, and I've been making life progress, been life maxing, as the kids say. But to be honest, I've made absolutely no progress in the last few months, and that pisses me off. But is that even worth being pissed off about? Or do I just need to come to terms with the fact that life moves in seasons? Do I need to come to terms with the fact that this is perhaps a season of building progress elsewhere in life? Maybe it's not all about numbers on the scoreboard or achieving things or accomplishing things on your to-do list. That's just been a really hard thing for me to wrestle with. So I don't know how that relates to you, but maybe you're in a season of pushing. Maybe you're in a season of rest. Maybe you're in a season of stepping back and reviewing your life and figuring out what your next move is. I think sometimes we beat ourselves up for not doing enough or doing too much, or we get burnt out, or we think this isn't sustainable, we can't last. And I think understanding that everything moves in seasons allows it to be okay. Like, that's how I'm trying to rationalize. Maybe it's just a rationalization of like, this is okay. Even though I'm itching to get back and make forward momentum. Now, that's the beautiful thing though, is building a business is truly the only way to have the opportunity to do this. Now, what a freaking luxury. What a ridiculous thing to complain about. Oh, shucks, I've been traveling and it's hard to check off my goal. Like, I know it's a joke. It's ridiculous. But I'm still a human. And, we still have little monkeys on our back. But I also see the silver lining. And I'm like, holy crap, my life has turned out really amazing in a lot of ways. And a lot of it's just frankly good fortune. A lot of it's just luck. But if I look back and I think about like, well, what's the core theme that's given me the ability to live a life that I find, really exciting and interesting and has given me freedom? It's all for one decision that I made. And that decision was to try to create things, to try to build things, and really trying to do that in the realm of building businesses. And that was one crazy decision that changed my life. Now, it has nothing to do with land investing, has nothing to do with any of the things I'm doing today necessarily. It was that kind of fateful decision when I was a kid where I knew I wanted to create things. I wanted to build things, and I wanted to build businesses. And so I don't know where you're at in life, but it's like, man, I really think that maybe not everyone's cut out to build businesses, but maybe everyone is. Maybe I'm wrong. I so, I'm so grateful. And it's interesting, I'm on this trip with friends, and we got friends that, own businesses. We got friends that are, working W-2s, and, it's just interesting to see the difference of how the ability that you have to move through life when you've chipped away at the craft of trying to create things. And I so wish that for everyone. And maybe you need the push off the ledge to do that. Maybe that's something that you've wanted to do. Do it. Do it. I promise you, it'll be one of the best decisions you ever make in your life, because there's no way to create that level of leverage, and leverage creates freedom. It's like, give me enough leverage and you can move the world, right? Leverage creates freedom. There's no way to create that level of leverage without building a business. It's impossible. And that's the pragmatic side of building a business. There's also just kind of the creative joy of building a business that I find really fulfilling. And that's honestly why I do it. But the side effect was the freedom. And I want that for everyone. I really do. And I think there's a crazy change happening in the world, where we live in such a fortunate time to where you can do that with your freaking laptop. The barriers to entry are so low. And I hear so many people talking about how the American dream is dead. The American dream is dead for the playbook that we were given, but there's a new playbook being written right now, and anyone and everyone can be a part of that. And nowadays it's global. It doesn't even matter as much what country you come from, because the internet has united us in a way that we've never experienced before. And it's such a cool thing to witness. And I don't know who needs to hear that, but I want you to take the jump. And I think that as a human, really what we crave on some level is freedom. Freedom's beautiful. Now, you might be hearing me say this, you say something that seems interesting because you run a business and you have team members. So how does that relate to the people that work with you? Well, with this new paradigm shift that's happening with the internet, which is not that new, but newish, I also think there's a new way to rewrite how you build organizations and how you lead teams and how you all interface together, right? I think part of the reason people hate most of the kind of corporate world is because it's frankly outdated, and I think it's inhuman. Sitting in an office with a suit and a tie on, choking yourself, only being able to go at a lunch at this time and take your breaks at this time, that's inhuman to me. I don't like that. That's outdated, it's antiquated. And so I think even nowadays, there are still folks that might not want to run their own business or start their own thing, and that's fine. But I think there's a way to do it right, to where you work with people that are fulfilled, that are happy, that have freedom, that get paid well. And that's really what I'm trying to create. And I don't always achieve that. I fall short in many, many areas. But I think there's a way to do this to where we can kind of rewrite the playbook, and you can build a business where there are team members. Because again, I don't know if everyone wants to build a business. And I got a really interesting point that I'm going to share here in a second. But I think there's a way to do it right and kind of rewrite how we build organizations. And what's so interesting is I've gotten deeper into this journey of creating things. And at this point, we're on our third business that we're running currently, working on kind of a little fourth project, which I'll talk about here in a second. But what gets me fired up nowadays is thinking about culture, thinking about how can you build teams that are united, the synergy, and it's such a cheesy buzzword, but that synergy you get when everyone's just locked in together, they're on a mission together, everyone feels valued, everyone feels like they're getting rewarded fairly, the incentives are aligned. I love that, and that gives me so much joy. That's so fun for me to try to create, and so that's kind of been my mission in the last few years. Rats, this thing almost went out. Now, with all this being said, here's what's really interesting. Talking about seasons and talking about creating things, I recently had a colleague, we'll say, someone that I know very well, who's been trying to build a land business and is working a job currently, okay? And they're in this really interesting position currently where they're more all in on the job and a little less all in on building the business. And the truth is, most people, if you want to go build a business, it probably means that you have to have a job in the interim that supports you. And there's gonna be that kind of awkward transition where both are going to suffer. You're not going to be at 100% or fully optimal for either one, but how you kind of place your time is really, really important. And so he's just going through this slog of trying to figure out, how do I balance both? And the truth is, you've got to make concessions somewhere. And that's where I think thinking about in seasons makes it feel justified, because if you're in that process, whether it's for land or something different, understand that there might be a year or two period where you kind of suck at both. Like, you're not optimal at your business and you know it, and it kind of eats you away. You always know, I could be doing more, I could be doing better. And same thing at the job. Hell, maybe you get bad feedback or reprimanded because it's like you're not on your A game. And that's that really awkward transition period. I just was talking to someone today about this. It's just kind of going through the growing pains of that. And I totally understand. I think that's a path that you have to go on, though. And here's what's even more interesting. This gentleman is doing his first dance with entrepreneurship, right? And he had a really tough last couple of weeks, right? A team member, kind of intern team member, relationship kind of fell apart, and deals were falling apart, and he's looking back at the deals that he missed in his land business that could have been slam dunk, home run, crazy big deals, and just a lot of moving parts that kind of all started to crumble all at once. And he was just like having a kind of a come to Jesus moment, like, dude, this is insane. I'm spreading myself so thin. I'm not 100% optimal in either one of these camps, and I'm getting my teeth kicked in. He's like, dude, am I doing something wrong? Like, this just doesn't feel right. Like, something feels off about this. This just, I don't know. So, like, this is, he just wanted a kind of a sounding board. And what I came to him with is like, brother, such a silly thing to say, but dude, this is literally the game that we play. And I have a firm belief that when you're about to level up, right, when you're about to break through to that next level in your life, God, the universe, whoever, they're going to test you. Like, they're going to put hurdles in front of you to figure out if you can jump over them. I just think that is just a rule. And in a game like entrepreneurship that is always so like forward looking and kind of progress based, anytime you want to get to that next level and push, right? You want to go to from leaving your job to going full time in your land business or fill in the blank, you are going to be tested. And at every junction where you're about to level up, you're going to be tested again and again and again and again. And that's where I think that maybe this isn't for everyone. And I understand that. While I want everyone to have the freedom, maybe this game isn't for everyone, and that's totally fair. You get your teeth kicked in. That's the game that we play. And the beautiful thing is that, like, you always, as long as you're breathing, always have the choice to still put one foot in front of the other, to take that next step. That choice will never be taken from you, no matter what the circumstances are. It's this that gets in the way, right? There's some crazy statistic that's like 90% of businesses fail by their 5th year. I don't know, something wild like that. And I think most of those business owners would tell you, well, there was some unforeseen circumstance, or the business didn't work, or whatever. Something terrible happened. It's all up here, 100% of the time, without fail. Bad things are going to happen to you in this game and in life, but it's always our choice to move forward. And it's like, if we can't manage that small stuff and like overcome those small obstacles, you're never going to get the big stuff, ever. Now, some people get lucky out of the gate and they get momentum immediately. They don't have to go through very many hurdles, but I promise you those hurdles are just getting delayed. The hurdles will always be there. The timelines might be slightly different, but for most of us, the hurdles are going to come about 6 months, and then 12 months later, and then and it's bum, 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 bum. And what's crazy is the hurdles get bigger, right? You're jumping 6 inches the first 6 months. A year later, you're jumping 5 feet. Then you're jumping 10 feet. You're like, dude, I don't even know how I could jump higher than 10 feet. But you figure out a way. You always figure out a way. And the beautiful thing is that, like, your set point for what you can handle, the stress that you can endure, stress, whatever you want to call it, gets raised. You become a resilient MFer. You build such thick skin that you could shoot a shotgun at it, just bounces right off. That's beautiful. That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if that's for everyone, but that's the truth. Now, you see a lot of folks that just crumble under stress. They just crack, right? They become, whatever, abusive to their partner, or they become mean, they start drinking or whatever. That's the cheap way out. That is the shortcut. That's just a straight dead end. It's how do you manage that and keep your composure? How do you keep peace in your life? How do you keep calm? Like, how do you keep calm, man? That's the secret. How do you stay calm during the fire? And if you can learn how to just like like where stress is just not a thing for you anymore. It's like you almost don't even believe in it to some extent, and you can walk through the fire time and time and time and time again. Really cool things happen. Now, what's interesting about this guy is that, like a lot of people, they want to build a business and leave their job. He's an outlier. He actually doesn't want to do that. He wants to build a business and keep his job. Crazy, right? Most people are in that situation. He wants to do both. Well, there is definitely a rule of concentration, I'll say. Like, imagine you've got whatever, the wattage or the power of a flashlight, really wide, blast out the light. It's not that potent, it's not that strong, right? But it illuminates a pretty wide area. Take all that energy, concentrate it down into a laser, you might be able to catch something on fire. It's just so concentrated. Our attention and our energy is very much the same. And so for someone like that who's juggling multiple balls, I probably know this better than most people, is like, dude, you are going to be non-optimal in all areas. Juggling the balls that I juggle is so non-optimal for like the pragmatic progress of making more money or putting more numbers on the board. But for me, it's the creative expression that I really, really enjoy. That's why I want to juggle multiple businesses. It's a creative outlet for me, but it's certainly non-optimal in terms of like, you could just go way further just doing one thing. It's like trying to drive 3 cars at once. It's just silly, right? But here's where I'm going with that point. This is why I think it's really interesting. Whoops. Like anyone that's ever ran a business before, there's really high highs, like the dopamine rushes of accomplishing something, or you're at a dead end, but you figured out a path forward, or whatever. It's just so gratifying. And it feels so good. You got that deal closed, or whatever happened. But you also know there's also a downside. Like there's times where it's like, fuck, God, this sucks. Well, multiply that over multiple businesses, and there are days and weeks where you're just getting hit from every angle. It's like boom, 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 and you're just getting dinged up and banged up. And it's just been a really interesting path for me to walk. And I guess on a personal level, it's like, yeah, how do you juggle the highs and the lows across multiple things? And how do you learn to keep calm during the storm? And that skill set extends way beyond anything else. Like it extends way beyond just business. It covers all gamuts. And I definitely don't have it all figured out. I definitely have lows, but the ways that have helped me are different modalities. Like you've got to pick up tools in your toolbox to be able to manage stress. It's not just like you think your way to it. And so the things that have been really effective for me, first off, breath work, something to get myself into a different state where I'm more malleable. Journaling, walking, hiking, like no phone, no nothing, just like in nature, just blasting myself with nature, right? Just kind of letting all the stress just pull away. Thinking about my own mortality, like thinking about the fact that this is a really, really short ride and none of the problems matter at all. Like in the grand scheme of things, my life is just a blink of an eye. The impact I make here doesn't really matter. The downsides, the losses, the stumbles, the trips, the falls don't really matter that much. Like it's all a really, really short ride. Now I don't not take life seriously, but it kind of puts things into perspective that like rarely is this stuff life or death. Like you're already gonna die anyways, right? It's just not that big of a deal. There's the church bells going off in the background. And one that I certainly need to get better at myself is also like when times get tough, like come back to what's the why? Like why are you even doing this? And I think trying to get down like to the layer, to the root cause. There's this concept in car building, like the Toyota came up with, it's called the 5 whys. And it's like, well, we're putting this weird, 2-sided seatbelt. Well, why? Well, we think it's going to be safer. Why are we worried about safety? Well, because we got a bad rating on our cars last year. Like you just why? You just kind of bury down and get to the core essence. Now the why of making money or whatever, like, okay, sure, that's a start, but can we get it deeper? Can we go deeper? Can we get deeper? And then can we actually think about how we can tie that into a more noble cause as well, right? Can we find out a way to build something into our why that's actually slightly outside of ourselves? At least that's what I found to be effective. So it's like, for me, well, initially the why was, on some levels, there's always multiple whys, but a big why for me at first was, well, I want to figure out a way to make money because I'm tired of not having money and I want to make money. Well, why? Well, I didn't grow up with much money and my family didn't have much money to some extent, and I want to kind of rewrite that. Well, why do you want to rewrite that? Well, I want to change the course of my life and be helpful to my family on some level. And it's like just kind of going deeper and deeper and deeper, and then tying it into maybe a mission that's more noble. And that's something that I'm still figuring out, is to like, how can I even bring my why beyond just myself and trying to create something that's just a little bit bigger. And maybe that's the impact of the business, like the things that you're actually solving, or maybe that's what you do with the outcomes of the business, whether it's giving back to charity or what have you. I'm working on a new project, like I mentioned before, and I guess this is part of like the progress in my own life. One of the rules that was set forth in the beginning is 10% of all profits go to charity. That's just a rule that we set from the get-go. It's not even, you don't question it, you don't think about it. 10%. Okay, and then you're taking that away, you're giving that to charity. And so when times do get tough, which naturally they certainly will, what can we come back to? And getting really, really clear on that. And I think if you're a guy or gal like me, it's easy to, I don't know, sometimes just like you move forward without really thinking about things as thoroughly as you probably should. And you're kind of like just overly action orientated. And so taking a step back and actually thinking about, why am I doing this? And when times get tough, drawing back on that, keeping that front and center. Maybe you've got that on a whiteboard in your house. Maybe you got that written down. It's your screensaver on your phone. Like keeping that really, really near and dear to your heart. Now, to tie this into something that's perhaps a little more land investing related, that's probably why you're here, huh? What if you are someone that's working a job and you're looking to get out of it? How could you do that in the shortest line path in land? Okay, let's say you want to go as far as possible, as fast as possible. How could you do that? Well, the first thing is, and this is, as the kids say, no cap. There's no cap. It sounds ridiculous saying that. Truly, I'm not saying this because I'm biased, but the first thing that you need to do is like, go get the playbook, okay? Go get the roadmap for whatever the endeavor is. I think that's always a truism, but let's just say it's about land, right? Go get a roadmap, go get a playbook. You're not gonna go drive to Portland, Oregon from New York City without a map, right? If you've got to be there in the next week, you're gonna get a map. If you've got all the time in the world and you don't really care if you arrive, sure, just drive it and hope good things happen. But odds are you're gonna get lost, like really lost, like multiple times. And hell, maybe it takes you 6 months to make it to the West Coast. So go and get a map, okay? And then I want you to think about whatever the playbook that someone gives you, how can you even take it to its lowest core essence? Because the problem is like a lot of the playbooks that are written, and even we're slightly guilty of this, are kind of the assumption that you've got at least 20, 30, 40 hours a week. But what if you don't? Like, what if you really don't have much time? Well, this is what I would do. First off, I would want to become vertically integrated in my land business. What do I mean by that? One of the biggest time sucks in your business as you start doing deals in the land business is every time you go into a new market, you're kind of starting over from square one. You're like, okay, let me go find a realtor. Let me go find a title company. Shoot, this property needs a survey. Let me go find a surveyor. You're just like, you're coming in completely blind every time. Same thing, anytime you're gonna start marketing to a market, you're starting at ground zero. You don't know anything about the pricing. You don't know anything about whatever, that kind of like the potential red flags, like the soil quality or properties do or don't perk out here. You also don't know about any of the honey holes, right? Any of the things that would be an obvious signal of value might just slip right past you. As in, you get a property in North Carolina and it's got a septic system or a perk test, you might not really value it that much. But in a state like North Carolina, that could actually be really, really valuable. It could be like a huge force multiplier for what the property's worth. And then from there, I want to think about, how do I go take all the activities that are going to spread me thin and chop off 80% of them, right? So whether it's like the properties that you were going to go after or the kinds of owners that you were going to go after, how to go take the vast majority that might be relevant down the line when I have more time, but not now, and just chop it down. So for example, you might say, I'm going after fill in the blank county, whatever, San Diego County as a hypothetical. I really only want to go after a few subdivisions in the back corner of this county because I know them, I know how to price them, I've got a realtor out there, I've got all the resources. And what I found is I think I only want to go after owners that live out of state, out of county, or whatever the metrics are they want to layer on there, Ideally someone that's owned it for 10 years. Maybe you layer on additional motivation filters, right? Maybe you go start doing some deep skip traces and you figure out, well, maybe I want to buy a land for people that just recently got a divorce or college educated, or like what, whatever you want to start layering these kind of motivation factors on top of it. Now you might not want those forever, right? You can kind of narrow your scope too much to where you start missing out on deals that might not be as efficient, but if you've got all the time in the world and the resources to spend, you might as well go buy as many deals as you possibly can. And then I would just start doing that and being a sniper. I get a really, really clean, lean scale on being a sniper. There's some really interesting examples that'll tie into this, because you might say, well, that doesn't really sound possible, and I think I need a lot of markets or I need a lot of marketing. And again, I think as you scale up, it is certainly optimal to start to kind of widen your parameters, right? When I first got into this business, I was going after properties that were owned by people out of state. They had owned them typically for like 20 years. Like I was going after people that had bought them in the early 2000s. I was even layering on like tax delinquent stuff. But as we started to grow, it was too narrow. Even if our ROAS was higher there, I was going to take a step back on our return from our marketing because I wanted more deals. Why not? Like, we've already got the assembly line built. Let's go put more properties on it. But in the beginning, that might not really be the case, right? So a couple examples to give you some confidence that this is possible. I know of multiple people that actually work in the same city. Okay, it's a city. It's not a county. It's a tiny little city. Probably got a population of about 40,000 people maybe. And for years, literally years, they continued to make 6 figures a year on autopilot from those markets, or that market. They buy the same exact properties. There's 2 people I know in particular. They buy the same exact properties time and time again. They both buy the same properties. Like, they have the same strategy. It's not a super special market. They just know it really well. They have all the resources there. Like, and there's little oddities in this market that come up. Like, water is a big issue. Like, there's just little things that come up. They got on lock, just on dialed in. And they started building relationships with new home builders, kind of an infill market. They call it the new home builders. They say, I got this property. They just buy it immediately. Bam. Takes them like no time. And they do probably 1 to 2 deals a month in these markets. They're making like 10 to 20 grand per deal. It's just so on autopilot, so simple. And I'm pretty sure one of these people has made many, many hundreds of thousands, maybe even like low 7 figures from this one city. In fact, I know a guy that uses Land Insights, the software that we built for land investors, who prior to using Land Insights just a while ago, he made over $1 million from one zip code, right? I also know of another guy who in one county was making about $500,000 a year after year. I think that level of focus and being really locked in to where, like, on a loop, you can have your marketing go out pretty much every month to the same properties with very similar pricing. You're really vertically integrated. If you're really lean and mean on time, that's a path I would take. Now, again, the starter of that is you definitely need a playbook, because it's not just as simple as throw a dart at the board, pick a county, start sending mail, go do deals. Like, unfortunately, there's layers to this stuff. There's a high level of skill in this game. But I was thinking about that today based off my conversation, and I think that's relevant for a lot of people. I think for most, leaving your job in about 12 months, if land is what you want to do and you're dedicated to building a business here, 12 months is a really good roadmap to get there. And that's assuming that you don't have like a monster savings or some kind of crazy unfair advantage. That's for the layperson. Now, if you've got wild expenses, or you have to be making $500,000 a year in profit to leave your job, all right, maybe it's gonna be a little longer for you. But if you've got, a modest, normal lifestyle, it's super achievable. In fact, we have people that do it way faster than that, but 12 months is a pretty clear path forward. Now, there are folks that, again, somehow they work 40 hours a week and they still put 40 hours a week into their land business, and they don't do what I'm saying, but I'm really talking about for folks that are like on the most lean and mean path forward. So yeah, fascinating. There's so much potential in this business. It's unbelievable. Now, let's say that you're past that stage and you want to make gobs and gobs and gobs of money. That same playbook doesn't really apply. Like, you actually want to open your parameters a little bit more, and again, you're going to have the help of a team, so it becomes a lot easier to do that. And maybe you'll even have the help of code. What do I mean by code? Well, as you guys know, we've been working on Land Insights for like literally almost, actually right over a year, which is crazy to think about. And it's unreal what we've seen this thing do. It's such a crazy force multiplier. And I'm not going to go on a spiel about Land Insights, but there's something really cool that I do want to talk about. I don't know if I've shared this here. We have some really crazy announcements happening that I want to talk about. So the first thing, actually, it's not an announcement because it already happened. I guess it's still an announcement, but it's already happened. This month, it's the month of September, we released a new feature inside of Land Insights, which is our kind of photo editing tool. And I'd be saying something that seems really weird that you'd add that to a marketing tool, but it actually makes a lot of sense. And one of the recurring issues that kept on coming up inside of Leah, and we trained pretty heavily on this stuff, yet it was still a recurring issue, is people would go land these sick deals and it'd be in a great market. They picked it through Land Insights, but it would still sit for 30 days or 40 days. And I'm like, dude, if I listed that property, I think it would have been gone a week or two ago. Problem was, well, I go look at the listings. The listings were horrible. They said, I don't know how to edit my photos. I don't even know what tools to use. I'm a boomer, for God's sakes. Not everyone's a boomer, but I don't know what to do. And so I was like, let's just go build this inside of Land Insights. It's actually such a valuable feature because you can do everything right on the front end, but if you're listing properties incorrectly or in the wrong places, you're fighting an uphill battle, and it's just, in some cases, actually going to be damn near impossible. Right? If you go take an iPhone image of your deal, even if it's got $200,000 of spread, and it's a picture of the grass, and you just list it like that, it's like good luck, right? So we just added that in. It's free to use for users. And then coming out in November, we've got a really big release, which is our unlimited data platform. So ownership data inside of Land Insights. Now, there's two major improvements here. One is a pricing improvement, so the ability to have an unlimited data plan that's cheaper than anything else that exists out there. Now, you do have to be a Land Insights member, so that's kind of a caveat, right? Like, you can't just go and buy an unlimited data platform. You do have to be in the cool kids club, if you will. It's kind of like a Costco membership in that sense. Even if you don't go the unlimited route, which becomes economically viable if you're doing about 75,000 records a year. At that point, it tips over into making logical sense to go and do the unlimited data plan, which is $4,500 a year for unlimited data. Guess I should have added that. And then even if you don't go that route, if you're not ready for it inside of the tool, everyone gets access to a la carte data at 6 cents a record. Now, this is the most fresh, up-to-date, hot data. It's the same exact data that we use in our business. So there's no downgrade, like, because the price is low. We're not stepping back on quality. We've literally spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to pull and access this data. It's serious data. It's a creme de la creme. So that's the first improvement, right? It's kind of the pricing angle. But the second is a features update, or a features improvement, I guess, right? When you look at a lot of these tools out there, they're really actually built for house people. And so the land data is kind of like a afterthought, and we just kind of happen to use their tool, or this little side niche that uses their tool, but it's really not built for us. And so building features that are really specific to land investors, things that everyone would want in terms of maybe motivation stacking for owners that you can see before you pull your data, or just really interesting, fascinating, powerful, a lot of phrases there. Searches that you can layer on. If you look at a lot of the data tools out there, a lot of the kind of searches are built around square footage, or does it have a new roof, or how many stories does it have? Can you take that same level of specificity but apply that to land for the features? And I guess kind of like a improvement 2.5, or an improvement number 3, if you will, is on the UI, right? Having a UI that's really freaking intuitive, that's just like obvious for anyone that comes in. It's written in the land language. It's built and designed by land investors, where everything just flows seamlessly. It's a tool to where when you get off of it, or your team gets off of it, I want them to feel like, that was easy. That was great. You know, a lot of times when we're using other tools out there, I won't name any names, it's like, Jesus Christo, this is so annoying, or it glitches out, or you're manually scrubbing your data on there, and then, you can only scrub under 1,000 records, and then you can't export the duplicate on, like, just so many little bugs and issues to where you get off and you're like, you're drained because of it. It should be a tool that makes things easier to where you leave better than when you started on the tool, ideally. So super excited about that. That's releasing end of November. And then start of 2025, we've got our comping tool coming out. Now, this is a tool that we've been using kind of in stealth mode ourselves for it'll be coming up on a year, honestly. when it releases at the beginning of 2025. We're targeting for January. We haven't released a firm date on it, but we've been using it in the background for coming up on a year now, and it's ridiculous. We actually did a study within our own business for the time savings collectively for our team. So our acquisition team, operations people, like everyone, and we're saving about 4 to 6 hours per day just from this tool alone. Because the backbone of everything we do in land is like comp heavy, like you're constantly running comps. It pretty much takes your comping process, removes all of the work, all of the time, and then adds insights and layers that you would never get access to unless you're willing to spend hours to go source them for every single deal that you do. Now, the truth is, in land, there's absolutely no way that you can have it make the final judgment call for you. Okay, this is not a judgment call tool. It's not a pricing tool. It's a comping tool, right? But you still have to have the discretion as the business owner to say, yeah, that makes sense. Because we're taking the raw data, we're trying to interpret it and kind of apply weight to the right comps as best as possible. But there are certainly little oddball things that slip in there that require your discretion to say, yeah, that comp matters more or less than I thought. And you can actually kind of manually add your opinion to them, and it'll kind of reorientate and weight them. It'll tell you price break or what you should offer, what you're going to dispo at, and you can kind of figure out by looking at the work that we show. It's like just like you're doing homework back in school. We'll show the answer and we'll show the work that we used to get there, but you still have your kind of discretion to go over and toggle and say remove this, add this, and then layering that onto all the math. It's beautiful. It's insane. And not only has it saved us time, it's made us way more accurate. So I'm super excited to release that. That's free as well, so no charge. There's no like kind of per unit charge or anything along those lines. So super excited. In fact, probably what I'm most excited about right now is Land Insights. The amount of forward progress and just momentum that we have there is ridiculous, and we're just cruising. We just hired our 4th engineer to the team, so we've got 4 engineers. We just brought on a UI designer that's just working exclusively on the UI for Land Insights. It's crazy. It's crazy because this was just a pipe dream, 14 months ago. And yeah, super excited. So anyways, if you guys want to learn more, you can go to landinsights.co or landinsights.co/apply or landinsights.co/Chrome if you want to get a free Chrome extension, kind of play around with like this super ultra light version. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go run to dinner. It's your last night here. We're going to enjoy it. Go eat some pasta, watch the sunset. Hope this video was valuable on some level, and I'll see you guys in the next one.